Manufacturing. It powers every aspect of your life. From the hinges on your doors to the clothes on your back, there isn't a part of your daily experience that does not revolve around someone making something somewhere.
And perhaps no industry represents manufacturing quite as perfectly as the machining industry. With its massive machines and warehouses, the companies in this industry transform metals into things we perhaps don't even notice and yet rely on every day. So how exactly does something like this turn into something like this?
This is Josh and Josh, and we look at the processes and challenges associated with the manufacturing cycle on today's episode of Is It Controlled?
Today we will be looking at High-Tech Quality Manufacturing, a machining firm in Salt Lake City, Utah, specializing in custom medical components. The company has 70 employees and is currently owned and operated by Dale Muir and Ray Rivera.
High Quality does not focus its efforts on competing in the mass production market. Instead, it sets up contracts with medical equipment companies to make one-time special parts based off of custom blueprints.
High-Tech has a solid management team that has created a culture of quality in the organization. While they are still relatively small, they have worked to implement procedures and controls that will help them grow to the next level.
So there are 4 processes associated with the manufacturing cycle: product design, scheduling and planning, actually producing the product, and figuring out how much it costs.
We brought in Larry, the foreman from High-Tech Quality Manufacturing, to talk to us a little bit about the business process.
How are you? Doing well.
Thanks for meeting with us, Larry.
Nice to meet you. So can you tell us a little bit about how product design would work at High Quality Manufacturing?
Sure thing. Product design is actually really cool. So basically what happens is the customer takes their product, their blueprint, they send it over to our company, management looks through it and passes that on to engineering. Now once engineering has the product design, they take that blueprint and they stick it in CAD, a specialized software where they can actually design the product so that it will work with the machines that we have in shop. They then take that information, create a map or a timeline of when the blueprints will go to each machine, and they print out some other documents to go along with that and send that over to the foreman who starts the actual work of machining the product.
The design process Larry's described here is pretty typical for most manufacturing organizations. In fact, the documents he mentioned at the end are known in other manufacturing companies as a bill of materials and an operations list, which is basically a list of the stuff that goes into the product and how that product is actually going to be designed.
Once those documents make it to the foreman, he's in charge of scheduling when the machining is going to take place. At High-Tech Quality Manufacturing, Larry, how does your foreman handle the scheduling process?
So basically what happens at High-Tech is we have a list of all the work orders and we have those on a board. And we schedule that board by date and time of when the products need to be finished. From there we highlight the processes that need to be completed and schedule according to that.
Scheduling is one of the most important parts of the manufacturing process because it makes sure that the whole process is done efficiently. It sounds like at High-Tech Quality Manufacturing, they're using what's called a Kanban board, which is a more manual way of scheduling the process. Most companies today, however, do use an electronic scheduling process.
Of course, now we get to the most important part of the manufacturing cycle, the actual production of the product. Larry, at High-Tech Quality Manufacturing, how exactly do you manufacture the products?
So this is the best part. Basically what happens is that packet that we talked about earlier is what we call a traveler. And that moves from machine to machine as the product is being built. What happens is the machinist at every current machine will receive the packet, follow the instructions, configure the machine, build the product to the specifications, initial, and sign and pass that document over and the parts to the next machine where the process will continue until the product is complete.
In fact, we actually have some video clips of the machining taking place at High-Tech Quality Manufacturing. Take a look.
Of course, because high-tech quality manufacturing is making machine goods for the medical industry, simply producing them isn't enough. They need to make sure that those machine goods are good quality as well. How exactly do you handle that at your company?
So quality control, we have a quality control department, and they take the products that are finished, review them, make sure they're up to specifications before sending them out to the customers.
Once a product's been approved and it's made, it's important for the business to know exactly how much that product costs to make. How exactly do you handle that at high-tech quality manufacturing?
So our management handles that. They look at a database of past products that we've produced and how much those products cost us to make, and they compare that to the requested product before giving a quote to the customer.
And we actually talked to high-tech quality manufacturing's management to ask exactly how this costing procedure was done. They use a procedure called activity-based costing, which is a fancy accounting term to figure out sort of how much a product costs to make. The basic premise is that we take all the activities that it took to make it, such as the quality review and the manufacturing with the machines and the labor, and we put those into what are called cost pools, and then we determine from those how much money each one of those pools represents. We add up those amounts of money, and that produces the amount that it cost to make the product.
In a nutshell, that's how the production cycle is supposed to work.
Well, supposed to work.
But we found that it doesn't always work out that way.
In fact, there's actually a lot of problems that can come up in the manufacturing cycle, and we sat down with Larry a second time to discuss some of those problems. To figure out some of the most common things that can go wrong in the production cycle, we've met with experts in various fields who will provide their professional opinion on all the bad things that high-tech quality manufacturing could have coming for them. If that's okay with you, Larry, we'll show you these professional opinions. You let us know how you deal with those threats.
Definitely.
Alright, so give us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I started out in some petty theft, just for diamonds and fine jewelry. Moved on to some grand larceny, then eventually to some corporate espionage, and then right now I do specialize in part of the takedown of companies by manipulating their financial data.
Oh wow, really? That's quite a resume. Have you ever held a real job anywhere?
Yeah, it all started back at Enron, actually.
Enron? What did you do for Enron?
So my technical position was an accountant.
So you did accounting for Enron?
Well, let's just say it was a little complicated.
It was a little complicated.
Yep.
Alright, well, looking at kind of your background and the skills that you seem to have, if you take a look at the company we've told you about, what could you do? What could you do with them?
Yeah, so probably production-wise, probably theft of some raw materials, probably some of the finished goods, and also some of the tools. And then with the accounting, probably manipulation of the data, the accounting data, to especially the overhead, to increase prices and eventually take down the company.
Theft and internal fraud are big issues in businesses today. How does high-tech quality manufacturing deal with these?
So obviously with a manufacturing firm like ours, we have a lot of raw materials and a lot of machines, equipment that could be stolen. Basically what we do to secure that is we have video cameras around all the building. Every door has a keypad on it that only authorized employees have access to. We also have a lot of tools at high-tech quality manufacturing that could be stolen. So to mitigate that, we have our tools all stored in a machine that will only allow access to certain tools based on employee credentials. Another thing that we do to mitigate fraud is with our management, all the files and documents that they have are only kept by authorized personnel. No one else has access to that.
Of course, not all threats are malicious in nature. Sometimes the very worst ones can be by an innocent employee. You're an expert on laziness. So how did you end up here?
Sorry. I just kind of lost all my motivation. I really just don't care about much anymore.
So how's that affected your work?
I just do what I want to do. I don't really care.
Has that affected quality?
Yeah, but that's up to the business to decide. I just do my own quality check. I don't like that.
I see. So what was your most recent job?
Currently I'm looking for one, but I've had 12 in the last 6 months.
Oh, 12. That's quite a bit. Why did you leave?
They said something about blah, blah. I don't know, I wasn't really paying attention.
Okay. I think you've answered all the questions I was going to ask. So thanks for your time.
Yeah, no problem, anytime, man.
So Larry, every business needs employees. How does high-tech quality manufacturing deal with the issues that are caused by human error?
So we have a strict vetting process for hiring employees that ensures that we get good personnel, and then we take care of them so that they stay with us through the long run. We also have segregated departments that helps because no department is directly influenced by another department. For example, our quality control isn't influenced by the manufacturing department. They're segregated, and they just run their checks and perform their analysis in their own department. They also have the ability to run tests mid-batch to make sure that a large batch of products isn't being run by a sloppy employee. Our engineering department also, for example, has multiple engineers that do quality check runs on each other's work to ensure that the products are designed up to code and up to the requirements of the customer.
Of course, while employees are the source of many threats, Mother Nature can cause her fair share of problems as well.
So your story was recently featured on the news. Can you kind of give us a background to that?
Yeah, for sure. So I started a business down in New Orleans, and it was before Hurricane Katrina, and it came in and it destroyed everything. And so I decided to move on. I wanted to start off somewhere new. So I moved down to Chile, and did you hear that?
No, I didn't hear anything.
Okay. So I moved down to Chile, and the earthquake in 2010 hit, and it destroyed everything again. And we had backup servers and everything in Japan, but unfortunately another year later, the tsunami came and hit Fukushima, and everything was destroyed once again. So in my experience, you have to prepare for everything. You can't even prepare for everything. It's going to go wrong no matter what. So that's my experience.
Yes, you've really felt the full force of Mother Nature then.
I have. I've become a hermit since. Living off my grandparents' inheritance.
Well, all right. If you were to go be a foreman then at a manufacturing company here in Utah, what kind of risks would you be on the lookout for?
Here in Utah, I would say a big one is power outages, earthquakes, tornadoes, things like that. There's probably also a risk of too heavy of snowfall and caving in of roofs.
Okay.
Wow, what an interesting guy. He does make a lot of good points, though. How does high-tech quality manufacturing deal with natural disasters and disruption in operation?
So we've taken out a large insurance policy, and that will help us get back on our feet in the event that any disaster occurs.
Sounds good. Well, we thank you, Larry, for your time.
Thanks. It's nice to see you guys again.
You too, man. Thanks.
For the most part, we feel like high-tech quality manufacturing has pretty solid controls, although there are a few areas we think they could improve in.
For instance, their raw materials inventory and finished goods inventory are not secure. We'd recommend locking those out.
Also, while they do have a great insurance plan, that doesn't always cut it in the event of a disaster. They need some sort of recovery plan as well.
And finally, we'd recommend just a little bit better activity-based costing so that they can get the costs associated with their products that much more accurate.
That concludes our analysis of high-tech quality manufacturing's production cycle. Thanks for watching.
As a sneak preview for next week, doing pharmaceutical tests by hand, we put local business Northwest Labs to the test.